world needs no introduction to the coronavirus, COVID-19, with the spread of the disease now confirmed in at least 140 countries around the world. But what are the effects? We know that the virus has detrimental consequences on human life and well-being. But there are multiple tertiary effects, ranging from a crash in the global economy to political and social fallout. I'm Leila Faromarzi, and this is The Outbreak, a new show here on Press TV that unravels the chaos caused by the coronavirus and shows you the catalytic side effects of COVID-19. First up on the show, and likely the most severe repercussion of the virus, is the crash in the global economy, with share prices wiped out, stocks falling and oil prices hitting record lows. Will the markets be able to recover, or is 2020 already doomed to enter a global recession?
Little did the world know that the coronavirus, or COVID-19, would bring about the largest economic crash since the financial crisis of 2008, which saw the loans and mortgage bubble burst, with catastrophic consequences for banks and lenders who relied heavily on government bailouts to survive. 22 years later, the impact of the coronavirus has seen financial markets around the world fall at cataclysmic levels, which on occasion has seen the trading floors grind to a halt as circuit breakers kick in to halt a mass sell-off. There's no doubt that the collapse of the markets, the crushingly low price of oil, the failing industries such as aviation and leisure will no doubt plunge the world into a recession, possibly not seen since the Great Depression of the 1920s.
The fact that I think this is going to go on a lot longer than we have anticipated, I think you can definitely see a recession on the horizon. And I think that's one of the kind of why the markets hasn't found any footing yet, is because we don't know what the policymakers in Washington, D.C. are going to do.
But with so many factors playing their role as a consequence of the coronavirus, trading has taken on a new face over the previous weeks, meaning that traders are forced to adapt and respond with resilience to the ongoing financial crisis.
I think that we were maybe headed a little bit lower today regardless, but the travel ban with Europe was unexpected by investors, and it's clearly just going to cause a real hit to the finances for the travel and tourism industry, which was already taking a brunt of the coronavirus.
One must now look further into the realms of the long-term effects of the crash in the financial markets. Every step is being taken to ease the growing concerns of the public and industries alike. Yet cognitive financial easing may not be the solution. As we've seen in the past, the system has to be managed well and avoid previous mistakes, investing money wisely. The US Federal Reserve's striking maneuver to reduce lending rates down to 0% may well be the stimulus factor needed to re-inject cash and spending money back into society. However, with almost $1 trillion promised by the US government, for example, to save its own industry, what will this do to the overall long-term value of the US dollar, with the same notion applying to all currencies and states that do the same?
As we've seen, the financial implications are dire, with governments set to introduce significant bailouts, with the US floating figures in the region of $850 billion and the UK looking at £350 billion. Joining me in the studio today is Joshua Tartakovsky, an independent journalist from Istanbul. Many thanks for joining me. Now, the first question. With such a significant fall in the value of shares, bonds and national income, how deep will governments have to dig to raise such aid funds when the main source of income by means of taxes have also been cut?
What we have seen in recent days is the US government scrambling for solutions that may have been working in an otherwise normal economy, but may not necessarily work now. So for example, we saw the Federal Reserve cut down the interest rate almost close to zero in an anticipation that this will help the economy return to its normal course, while in fact regular economic activity in many ways is being suspended, and it is not clear at all that we're getting close to the peak of the spread of COVID-19. Another relevant point is the fact that the US administration is putting in a lot of money into saving airlines, while it's similarly far from certain that they will be able to resume operations anytime soon.
The U.S. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin has announced that the virus could lead to unemployment figures of about 20%. due to the virus, with the White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett stating that over 1 million jobs could be lost to the end of the year. How can the U.S. recover from this, and what burden does this place on the next president of the U.S.?
One way the U.S. could recover from the loss of jobs is to employ people in various part-time jobs from their homes. This will create some kind of income, but perhaps not the income people were used to before. And therefore it's possible that after this is over, the next administration, the next president, whoever it may be, may decide to complement the income of the workers in other ways to reach a certain coverage of some basic standards.
Many thanks to Joshua Tartakovsky with his analysis on the dire prospects for working-class Americans. The coronavirus has been labeled by some as man-made, which, if true, could have detrimental significance across international relations. But as we've seen in the past, certain nations have not shied away from using unconventional warfare.
History has shown us that war is a dirty game, and mankind is not shy when it comes to proving that. The United States famously used chemical and biological weapons in Vietnam, wiping out hundreds of thousands of acres of dense forest in the Vietnam War, using the infamous Agent Orange and napalm, designed to expose the Viet Cong. Similar traits were seen in the 80s during the Iran-Iraq War, in which the Saddam regime used chemical and biological weapons at his leisure, causing horrendous side effects to those who survived the attacks, and so many dead in the process. But times have changed since then, and the OPCW was set up to deal with such illegal crimes against humanity.
The Chemical Weapons Convention allows the OPCW itself to go into attribution. The organization has the technical capacity and operational experience, with addition of appropriate expertise, to carry out investigations for attribution purposes once it has the necessary information and evidence at its disposal.
So with rumours and allegations fast spreading that the coronavirus was in fact man-made and appears to have been deployed by man, has caused some scandal and raises the question as to whether the OPCW and other international organisations will take it upon themselves to investigate the COVID-19 strain of the coronavirus and ascertain its true origins. Whilst the war of words between China and the US continues as to the true origins of the virus, some Iranian doctors have requested that their neighbouring countries that contain US-based laboratories to consider the notion that certain viruses were made by American labs, following evidence leaked from documents and calculated scientific evidence from the Nature Medicine journal. Should this ever be proven to be both man-made and deployed by man, then the action should constitute as nothing less than a war crime and crime against humanity. But it's highly likely that, as with most other cases of national security, that the truth will be buried in the deepest archives for all time to come.
The notion that we're entering the realm of fifth-generation warfare should have meant that we're moving into cybersecurity threats. Yet if this virus was in any way state-manufactured, what would this mean to national and international security? Social media has made its presence felt on the subject of this being man-made. Let's have a look at what some of you have been saying about this possibility. Maria tweeted that the virus was fabricated by British scientists, who have in fact patented the virus. She states that it's all part of a bigger plan to control human population levels. What she says, it's true, coronavirus is even patented. This means it's man-made. The patent is dated November 2018. The inventors are 3 British scientists of the PIR Bright Foundation, parent of the Bill and Melinda Gates F. Everything they find is related to depopulation. PAPM has tweeted that the US created the virus and used it as a weapon to weaken the Chinese economy. I read something online stating that corona may have possibly been man-made in the USA, the time when people were allegedly killed by e-cigarettes. Apparently it's a lie they died from corona. I wouldn't put anything past the US, especially with their feud with China. When put to the public vote as to whether they thought corona was man-made, Donald McDonald tweeted his findings, with opinions split. Nearly 40% thought it was, with 30% saying potentially, and only a third saying no. One of the main industries hit hard by the coronavirus is the retail economy, not due to the virus itself, but due to the reactionary shopping methods used by those who fear the virus and have left shelves empty, as shoppers hoard goods in apocalyptic scenes rarely seen before.
The UK, like many other nations around the world, has seen the coronavirus affect residents across the country, with many self-isolating and working from home. One of the biggest impacts on the British has been the notion of panic buying from shops and supermarkets, leaving shelves empty and people scared. These are of course testing times for everybody. The vulnerable are at most risk, and none more so than the elderly, who are struggling to get hold of everyday vital items, as they're being whipped up by the young and fitter, in a pandemonium-like free-for-all survival of the fittest. The UK Health Minister Matt Hancock has tried to reassure people that steps are being taken to maintain supplies. However, the proof is in the pictures that still show empty shops and people queuing to buy goods.
So one of the things that we are confident about is that the food supply will continue. We're confident about it. What I can guarantee is that we'll work with the supermarkets to make sure that people get enough. And that, I understand why people might be stocking up, but it is people have got to behave responsibly. I think the supermarkets are right to write the letter calling on people to be responsible and to consider the impact that their stocking up might have on others. And we of course stand ready to take further measures if that's necessary.
Measures have been taken across the world to attempt to help the elderly, yet when shelves are empty, these attempts appear to be in vain, as there's nothing available to buy.
Depressing, actually. Seeing people battling to get basic groceries is just ridiculous. Why they're doing the 7 to 8, if you've got no stock on the shelf, pointless exercise.
With the vulnerable groups most at risk suffering from severe health consequences from the virus itself, the more worrying factor is that those who are self-isolating in an attempt to avoid the virus are suffering secondary repercussions from being let down, abandoned and forgotten by those younger, fitter and more capable than themselves, be it on a personal level in the shops or at a government level in their finances and lives.
As we've seen, the coronavirus as a single entity has caused illness and death around the world, reaching the four corners of the earth. Yet, with tertiary effects wreaking havoc on the economy and beyond, there is no escaping the fact that this has become one of the most significant events in the history of mankind. Join us again on the next episode of The Outbreak. That's bye from me, Leila Faromarzi, and the whole team here. Thanks for watching, and look after yourselves and each other.